Okay. So, um, we're gonna touch this Avatar movie. I know not everyone's seen it. Um, this other group I tried to see if people was gonna watch it. But it is a very long movie. It's three of them now. So the third one is probably it may still be in theaters. But it's probably been in theaters for about a month. If so, it's probably gonna head out of theaters. Really good graphic movie. As far as like, colors, things of that nature, just very, very nice to watch and see. Um, but it's a lot of really good themes in here as well. And yes, it's blue people. So it is kind of odd for some people when they look at this movie and they're like, "What the heck is this?" But it's really well made. And essentially, um, basically, there's some type of world that the humans basically discover that they're trying to explore, and it's called Pandora, I believe. And they basically make these machines to be able to go into this world. You can't breathe the regular air, and you have to have a mask on, for the humans. And basically, the main character ends up converting to one of these Navi, which is the race of tall, blue skinned humanoids, as it says here. So he just goes through this whole journey to where he eventually um turns into one of these and lives as that. Um, so it's a lot of really interesting connections here, obviously with the future, what they're doing, and just like transhumanism, things of that nature. But from a certain standpoint, again, it's some moral connections. And then, to the future of I would say more so like something about family, moral, character side, things of that nature. Um, but the main thing I'm just bringing up today, the third movie is probably the most significant to me because it has some interesting connections. Um, and I'll just share it with you guys. It's not too many. Let's see here. So let me see. So they have this who they call it's like their god, and they call her Awa, and they call her like Great Mother or Warrior Mother. So typically, majority of people in Pandora, the blue skin people, pray to her and asking for protection and direction, intervention, things of that nature, right? In the third movie, they actually showed a little bit of her face, which was interesting. After all this, whatever. But I gotta. You guys are gonna probably just be laughing at this, but let me see something. Uh, let me see. I'm gonna download it real quick. She's technically made. She has a daughter technically. So I'm going to show y'all how you'll see how it all connects here. Give me one second, just saving it. Okay, so yeah, so she's the mother goddess or whatever, and she is the god of this world or whatever. But not everybody praise her, right? Not everybody praises her. Not everybody believes in her as well, or they try to go against her because they'll say that she didn't come through for them or whatever it may be. They do have these spiritual practices where they connect with her. These blue people have this like dread or not dreads, but they have braids, and they have like a very long braid that is basically like a tail on their head, and they put the end of their, yeah, if y'all can see a little bit, they put the end of their braid, and it opens up a little bit like with some like nerve fibers, and it connects to the tree of Awa, basically. And so, that's how they basically spiritually connect with her. And Awa basically kind of gives them some type of, uh, like it says here, some type of consciousness transfer. And it's kind of like they're in this vision or something of that nature, whatever Awa wants to show them or connect with her or whatever it may be. So, you see the connection of like a tree with this god, um, little G, right? Even if, but yeah, yeah, yeah. But you guys see, it's like there's some type of connection here, with what they're trying to connect to, and it's basically a neural link. So they're transferring consciousness between that, and I guess it says something about creatures of the moon here, all that stuff, right? Um, some of you guys probably like, yeah, it's not even a movie I want to really watch. This is nuts. Um, but this is the interesting part. All right. So, right, it was spelled Eywa. Okay. This is how they be hiding stuff in the movies. People don't even realize it. Um, okay, so there's a subgroup of Yoruba people. All right. So they're called the Egbado, but they're also more recently, over a certain amount of years, or it says 1995, they changed their name to Yewa. Okay, so right off the bat, you do see the letters are the same as this Awa, false god or whatever, or the god of Pandora in this movie, right? So with the Egbado, when you do some research on the Yoruba people and et cetera, with Nigeria, et cetera, you do see obviously connections to the tribes of Yasharal, when it comes down to certain tribes and things of that nature in Africa. But again, you guys are going to see this connection here, with the Yewa here. And let me see, give me one second. Uh-oh. Now Zoom is messing up here. Oh, that's odd. Yeah, Zoom is not allowing me to change my screen, guys. Give me one second. What's with all the technical difficulties this morning, Denise?
I
Jeez.
know. I don't know.
It just literally like it's not letting me okay, let me see. Okay, I might have to close it out and then come back in. So give me one second. Let me see. Okay, cool. We're good. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is a link I could share with you guys, like a really good article. So you see here, Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Yasharo. It's a very, very, very good article. It actually goes into a lot of history that is not well known. Actually, I didn't know a lot about the history. I'm still reading through a lot of this article here, and it's a lot of other things I have to read through and then look up, different things that they're talking about. But they're bringing in a lot of connections here. But you see where the Yoruba is here, and you see, you have the Niger River, see the Bantu in that area. You see Ghana on that side. So obviously, there's older maps. Because I'm not going into super, super detail right now, but there's older maps that also show you like either somewhere in this area or further down. Um, there was like places called Yehuda, I believe, or Becca, different things like that you'll find in the word. And then my brother Brandon have told me before too, like, like this little section right here, the Red Sea, or they call it the Middle East. It wasn't always quote unquote detached, over time, or back then. So it's a lot of changes that they've made to maps and different things of that nature. But this article really goes into a lot of kings and just a lot of history here. And this is like one graphic right here that you can see that they made this chart here. So it's a table where it says the names of the Israelite, Assyrian, and Babylonian kings in the dynastic tradition of oil. So they're putting, on the left side, the Israelites king, and so essentially like their original names, and then I guess it's like connected to some of these kings that were mentioned in history. And it gives you the chronology, the dates, and everything of that nature. So again, it's just a lot of interesting connections here. Again, going back to the Yoruba and other tribes, other connections, just over time. So, and then they have a section in here again where you see the Yoruba as the lost tribes of Israel. Um, and they just again they really go into the custom. They talk about the customs, and there's videos you can watch obviously on YouTube, different places that will give you a lot more history too. The Bantu have a calendar that they have that directly connects to traditions in the word, when it comes down to following feast days and things of that nature. The Ethiopian, Ethiopia or Ethiopians have different calendars too. And I know I saw a video recently, like we're quote unquote on 2026 and they're like, I don't know, 5 years early or before, like somewhere in 2020 or 22 or something like that. So it's just interesting when you look at all these little different connections, right? But again, we did see that this specific Agbado people call themselves Yewa. And remember the Avatar movie? They call this god of Pandora Awa, right? So now you want to put this a little bit together. I think you guys know where I'm going with this by this time. Let me get the picture here. Okay, so with the original Hebrew letters, it's not the modern Hebrew letters. So we'll probably go over this at some other point. But the number of the modern Hebrew letters is supposedly 22. Now there's merit to that, but letters were added. So when you look at the history of like let's just say the W, and a lot of you guys already know this, let's just say the W was added, but it could still be a sound that someone can produce when they're saying, let's just say the name Yahuwah, right? Or different names in the word that may have a double W or double U sound. So it has some validity, but you will see even in the Dead Sea Scrolls also three-letter uh not necessarily abbreviation, but you'll see a YHU or YHUH. They don't really say that a lot, but they usually will put the YHWH or the YHVH. But there are connections that you'll see where it says Yah. It's the YH or the YH or YUH or something like that, YHU. Um, but here again, you see the Awa, then you see the Yawa. So the E, so it's not supposed to be 22. Supposedly it was 16 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Supposedly. Okay, so the E was actually would be an A, and the W is a double U or U. So then when you put it together right here, you see that it's the Yahuwah or Yahuwah. So, and this is how you know they were also connecting some things in this movie and hiding it in plain sight. But of course, again, majority of people won't really look this up if they're watching this movie because it's probably like a 1% or less than 1% amount of people that's probably following, walking in Yahuwah that's watching this movie, they probably wouldn't even think to look anything up like this. But this is the crazy part. So she has, let me see here. So there's a character named Kiri. Okay, Kiri. So we know in the Greek, right? Kiri, Kyrios, right? Anointed one, Christ, Messiah. Um, Her name is Kiri. Okay, so she's female also. Look at her height, 7'7". So she's supposedly the biological daughter of this other character, right? But in the third movie, what they end up telling you is that basically Awa, so basically this Grace Augustine's avatar. So Grace was a human, and then she went into this machine to basically make an avatar, which was one of the blue people, right? So she can interact with the blue people as a blue person, as a genetically modified blue person. So basically, her body or something like that was dying or died um in the human form, or she had some type of sickness. So they had to preserve her body. Or no, her body died, and then they basically transferred her consciousness and her soul, quote unquote, to this this avatar. But she also couldn't function as well, so they had to preserve her in this type of cube or this capsule to keep her alive because it was some type of connection that she made with Awa. And so before she got into that state, Awa basically planted a seed in this woman to have a child. Okay. So she had a child, and her name is Kiri. Her name is Kiri. So as you guys see here, they having some type of connectivity to the word where Yahusha, you know, is implanted by the Ruach into Mary, and Yahusha is directly from Yahuwah, his father. And they basically took the whole concept of this, but they didn't reveal it to the third movie. So just crazy enough. This is just how it all breaks down. And I just wanted to show you guys because again, it's just right in plain sight, and they're playing around. She's playing around. Sorry. This is how they reveal a lot of different truths, out there, even though they're playing around with, the whole connectivity of the truth as well. So, y'all have any questions or comments, y'all let me know before we just move on.
I
But
think
hopefully I can find
I
follow all that. Go ahead,
I,
sister.
I just think it's amazing how it's like you said, in plain sight. Like certain things we could literally see in plain sight. I've
Hmm.
never watched any of these movies, so I don't know. But how you broke it down is like wow. I appreciate it because, like I says, I don't know anything about these movies. But by you explaining it and sharing this, it's amazing. It really is. And how you got it, you broke it down. But like you said, the people in the world aren't going to do that. They just go in, they sit down, they watch a movie, and they leave. Um, like we used to do way back before we came into the truth. Now, if I watch something, I'm looking for it scripture, or I'm looking for like I look at it in new eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So thank you for um, bringing this up and bringing it out. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, and yeah, it's all praise to the Most High because my wife and I we were watching it, and we're just like, what the? And I mean, when they said Awa, and I'm like, that sounds really familiar because the way that they were saying it and pronouncing it, it was very peculiar. And I've seen this too. Like, people will out there that will denounce Yahuwah's name. I know one person, like Rocky Bar. A rapper. He calls himself like a Hebrew Israelite rapper, basically. Um, and he's brought up articles on his timeline because he's denouncing the name of Yahuwah, and he's brought up an article where in archaeology they found some connection about Esau and or the Edomites or something like that. And that basically there's a god that they worship. And basically they said it was the YWH or Yahuwah or something of that nature or Yahweh. So his whole point was that he's using that as to say this is why this is a false god, right? And again, dude didn't even really read the article in fullness. And then on top of that, scripture wise, I mean, Esau was literally Jacob's brother. So it wasn't like Esau was like right off the back, just like, not knowing of like who they serve and, you know, things of that nature. Like he was on point with something at some point, right? And at some point in scripture, it also says that they were brothers, like they had reconciled in some type of way or whatever the case is. Esau decided to, go his ways, and then he was mixing in with all types of other tribes, etc. So that would mean, false gods and idols, all types of stuff. But it doesn't mean that just because it's the Edomites early on in the beginning, and Esau, like, doesn't mean that they didn't know who Yahuwah was, but they went about a lot of different things in their own ways, and that Yah was telling, obviously, Yasharal, Yaakov, and even who Yaakov learned from, his father, his father's father. Like that was the way. It was a line that was obviously being drawn to who will actually walk in righteousness. So, it's like things like that. It's you have to really discern and you really have to like do your research and just the more you research and the more you start seeing these little patterns, you just grow in prudence, to really say, okay, there's something up here. There's something interesting here. And so, again, that's just whatever y'all adds to you daily, at some point, there's gonna be something else that like this, like I was able to really kind of hear it and listen to like, okay, the AWOL. And then when they brought up the whole what's her name? Kiri, I was like, okay. That was pretty obvious, when they put in the whole like revealed her birth story and things like that. I'm like, all right. And then she literally had some powers too on top of that. So she was the only one that connected with the nature, and she didn't know why she was why she was the way she was, but she knew she had power and different things like that. So you know, it's like she ended up becoming some type of savior towards the end too, and was like the main person to really put them some stuff together. So it's just like some of those obvious ones, and then the ones that you gotta like kind of put together. But again, and then when you watch the movie again, going back to the Yoruba people, I mean, they are in plain sight also. Like, kind of. I don't know if the word is appropriation or whatever the word is, but I mean these people. I mean, if you look right here, you know, they got the whole tribal look. Um, it's a lot of tribal look here. It's a lot of things that they're alluding to, you know, people in Africa and things of that nature, or back in the day, uh, um, so it's just a lot, you know, that they're putting together, So yeah, it's just wild. It's wild, guys.
I've never actually even really watched the movies like that. I've seen the first one, bits and pieces of it. Um, so I mean, this just listening to you break this stuff down is actually kind of inspiring me to want to watch them all to see what's really going on. But carry on.
Can you repeat that, Brandon? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was saying I haven't even really watched the movies like that. I've seen the first like bits and pieces of the first one. But listening to how you're breaking it down and obviously all the connections and stuff like that you're making is kind of inspiring me to want to watch them and see what's really going on with them. You know what I mean? See what else is what messages they're really trying to convey out here through these movies. Because I mean, to me, it was look like when I first saw the previews for it and stuff like that. I'm looking at it as if more like I won't say cartoonish, but kind of like a cartoonish kind of vibe. Um, so I never really paid much attention to it, but you know, like I said, listening to you breaking it down now is making me want to watch them and see, you know, what's really going on and what kind of messages they're trying to send out there to the masses, you know.
Exactly. It is. It's like, like it's like, and it gets disrespectful. Obviously, like the more they keep hiding in plain sight, but then they're more bold. Here you go, Brandon. Brandon. They're more bold to like. I mean, like this one right here is like out there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not out there for the ones that don't like. Their people are not really going to connect this. But like for us, like it's like wow, you know, this like it couldn't be more out there, you know, and it wasn't always like that back in the day in certain fashions. Like you kind of had to dig a little bit, I guess, or you know, certain movies. But I mean, this one to me is like, man, like I mean, you put Awa and then it's the Yewa, you know, people in Yoruba. I'm like, that's not even creative, you know? That's not even creative at all. It's like,
Right. They just putting it out there. Like if you know anything about, you know, the Yoruba people and all that kind of stuff, they're just basically telling you this is who these people are supposed to be.
mm. And then on at the end, you know, of course, this is we're not white, black, very white, black, or nothing like that. But considering the whole race war stuff that they're building on and things of that nature, in the third movie, you know, this they did have a guy, a kid that was human, and he joined, you know, the Jake Sully's people, which is the you know other blue people that he joined. So he was, you know, he's a human kid, and so he ends up getting ready to die. Like he's getting ready to die because his mask that he was using to breathe, you know, was running out of battery. So basically, Kiri, this girl, she calls on, you know, Awa, and she's like doing her getting in a trance, and she's praying over this kid, and it's basically her, but she's praying over him, and basically like the roots in the grass or I mean in the ground like cover him completely almost and get inside of his nostrils and things like that. Basically converting him into a Navi or an avatar basically. So the kid he already has and I'm gonna show you this kid. This is gonna trip you out. What's his name? Characters in Avatar. So you're gonna see his hair. So his name is Miles Miles Spider. Let me download this picture here. All right, let me see. Uh, okay, so this is the kid. So you see his hairstyle. So he's a part of the people, right? So he ends up getting basically infuses with Yewa and the nature thing, whatever. So he ends up getting one of those tails on his head, basically that you know from his hair particles. I'm sorry, not from his hair, because you know the hair is very another deep subject too, the root of the hair and things like that. You know, so he ends up being able to connect to the tree of Abel. He wasn't able to do that before because he didn't have that little connector thing. So he was then able to breathe the air and you know, and then at the end of the movie he finally actually connects to the tree, so he didn't do it until the end of the movie after the war and stuff like that. And so he goes into the spirit realm and everybody basically embraces him like he's the one in the middle, and everybody basically embraces him. They put their hands on him and you know things like that, and they're embracing him. So I'm just like I don't know, it's just like I was just like, this is like, I was just sitting at the end of that movie, like, this is nuts. Like, they really, they just put all this together. And it's like so disrespectful at the same time because they're just like, you know, you know, it's just a captivity, and then you see how, I mean, they just literally brought this person in. They're like, yes, you're one of us in this moment, right here, right now. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot. So that's why I said I wanted to do like a little study on it. I might still do it eventually, but I think this is just the more significant stuff about the Yewa and the Awa, the Yoruba, you know, and Yahuwah, the name. I mean, it's really out there like that, and the curios and all that stuff. So, but yeah, that part tripped me out at the end. I was just like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, that is that. And we will move on. All right. So I had a plan. So I want to read chapter 6 here of Wisdom of Solomon, and a little bit of 7. My wife has to go at about 2 o'clock, so I'm probably gonna transition. But I still should be okay to a certain time. But we'll just, we'll get through some of it. If we don't get to the first Clement, that'll be just for next time. But yeah, we'll read some of 6 here. And some of these footnotes at the bottom are important, so I'll read some of them. So, let me see here. So it says here, verse 1, hear therefore, O kings, and understand. Learn, O ye judges of the uttermost parts of the earth. Give ear, O ye that rule over multitudes, and hold proud dominion over many nations. For your power was given you from Yahuwah, and your sovereignty from the Most High. Who shall search out your works and scrutinize your counsels? For though ye were officers of his kingdom, ye judged not rightly, neither kept ye the law or Torah. Let's see here. Let's see, point of view. Multitudes of nations here. So, um, towards the bottom it says this shows that the words of this section are addressed to Jewish rulers. So, which again makes sense because not everybody, obviously, of other nations, would have Yahuwah's instructions, right? So there's something in the Dead Sea Scrolls that actually talks about David, where it's a Damascus document, if I'm not mistaken, but it says that David actually didn't have the Torah at some point before he actually married more than one wife. And he didn't know that it's actually says somewhere in Deuteronomy or Leviticus that a king is only supposed to have one wife. So that's another argument or another area that you don't really hear about that comes up in the whole polygamy discussion. But it says it right there in the Damascus document. If I could pull it up really quick in my screenshots, I would, but I got too many and I'm not going to be able to find it that fast. But it literally says that he didn't know. David did not know that that was the instructions because he didn't have the Torah at that time, sitting as king. And you'll find in scripture too, there was like a transfer of kings. I can't remember. You guys may be able to remember, but I think it was a specific moment where somebody got, the instructions of Yahuwah when they were cemented as king. And then I think they were rewriting it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that was Hezekiah or not. I can't remember. Um, but that was a thing. That was a thing. Like, again, within Yasharal, like that was the thing. Like the next ruler was supposed to have a copy of the Torah, copy of the instructions, how to rule, how to do all these different things. Right. So here is saying that they were not like this is a person speaking here. And with the wisdom of Solomon, they will say this is not actually Solomon, it's a person that's posing as Solomon, but it's something to keep in mind that, again, we don't have original copies of a bunch of things. And that Yah is able to put his Ruach in different scribes over time to rewrite, the word or rewrite different things that have been written over time. And then obviously there are other scribes of unrighteousness that try to change the words and change different things and make up their own different stuff. But Yah has been able to preserve his word also through scribes of righteousness. And I would say because, we refer to movies a lot here and there, but like the Book of Eli, That's a movie. And dude, at the end, Eli, he's like basically blind, but he knows the word. So he survives this whole whatever, and this is during an apocalyptic time, basically. And he's able to lay down on this bed and talk to this recorder, this person that's going to write the whole Bible and from his words, and he's able to recite the whole words, like of the whole Bible. So he starts with like in the beginning, you know, and he just goes from there, and the guy is just writing, you know. So I mean, that's just a easy imagery just to kind of think about, but y'all was able to put his rock in different people, you know, over time, scribes righteousness, you know. So when scholars say something like that, it's like, okay, we're reading it for ourselves to know and, you know, verify the information and connectivity here and, you know, study to show ourselves approved, right? So we can be a workman unto Yahuwah, not being ashamed. So that way, again, we know what we're connecting. We know what the truth is because Yah is directing us, right? So, you know, again, whether this is Solomon or somebody, you know, speaking to the voice of Solomon, he's still saying, you know, that these people, that these kings, you know, were given authority by Yah and that they have not walked in his instructions, not judged rightly. And again, going back to David, David was very humble and, you know, repentant, or always repenting or asking God for forgiveness and growing when he made mistakes. You know, that's one thing I loved always about his character that I grew up as a young man reading that stuff and understanding like the only thing I have truly, you know, is my character in Yahuwah. And that I can hold dearly to where that transfers to other things in my life. Like that's what I've always held on to, my character in Yahuwah. So when I was able to read things about David and stuff like that, like it spoke to me so much because he was open, like he was like an open book. Like he had emotions, you know, he had strength. He was calling on Yah that he made mistakes, you know, and then you know his willingness to serve Yah and like his heart, you know, that character shows so much, you know. Then of course then you see Yahusha is like called like the son of David, you know, so that speaks volumes to Yahusha's character. And then you start learning more about Yahusha, and then you see that all the prophets and you know the law, the Torah is hanging on him essentially, and you get to see other prophets, you know, in the word and their character and things of that nature. So you just start, you know, it starts really bringing to life all these different things, and to see why Yahusha is that elect one, that one that his father has put all authority in him, you know, and why you see Yahusha constantly giving praise to his father and say, nothing I do is of myself, nothing, you know. So it's just really beautiful just to really see that. So again, going back to here, you know, people that was given authority, they weren't judging rightly, they weren't keeping the Torah. Again, if you guys have anything to add on there, yeah, let me know. Um, just take off mute. Um, you're not interrupting at all.
Well, wouldn't it be like in the new instruction, Luke, right? Because
Mhm.
Luke didn't walk with Yahusha, but yet he was used and he saw things. Um, he kind of said it how he saw it. You know what I'm saying? I have my
Yeah,
notes. I'm sitting outside. I have my notes inside. So, but yeah, because I did was looking at a thing about Luke and yeah, so, but he was used. He was used, so I hear what you're saying.
yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, what's this?
I didn't hear you. You broke up.
They're not going to talk about. Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now because you broke up. I didn't know what you said before that.
Oh yeah. No, I was saying that's a really good example. And you know, in earlier books like The Shepherd of Hermas and uh different books or letters that was written, like the letter of Aristides and just different texts that was back then. Like they'll call it like old church fathers, but they don't really bring in the actual like true documents. and talk about how these books, even Enoch, was circulated back in, the beginning, quote unquote, of Christianity. And it wasn't even called Christianity back in the day until, they started touching it and changing all types of stuff. But these older documents or books, have different people, that were used, like Aristides, and he's, um, that's another letter we'll read eventually too, or like Clement, things like that. And actually will tell you like they promoted the connectivity of following Yahuwah's instructions and, walking in righteousness and, all these different pillars of, mercy and clemency, things of that nature. So Luke is just a byproduct of like those earlier people, that had that was used. Basically what you're saying. That was used. And it shows, but again, it's not common knowledge. It's not ever brought up into, of course, the Christian spaces. It will never really be brought up in Christian spaces. But, into our spaces for us to really have that whole connectivity. I mean, like Luke is he's he's a byproduct of, like I said, Aristides and all these different people that wrote, about, Yasharal and the history and, you know, um, connecting whatever visions that Yah may give them. Like I said, the Shabbat Hermas is one of my favorite books of all time, trilogy of books. And it's deep. It's a very deep book, but it's connected again. It has a lot of beautiful connections in there. Um, so yeah, so Luke is a very, very, very good example. Um, you know, listening to accounts and putting it all together. So I think that was a great, great insight right there. Great connection. All right. So it says, nor did you walk according to the counsel of Yahuwah. Terribly and swiftly shall he come upon you, for stern judgment befalleth them that are in high place. For the man that is of low estate may be forgiven in mercy, but the mighty shall be mightily tested. So if we're using David as an example, right? He made a mistake. He made some questionable choices. That still, in worldly settings, when they bring up the Bible and they talk about David, I always talk about what he did to. I think that was his name, Uriah. If I'm not mistaken, that was his name. He killed a guy and took his wife, basically. Um, but they always bring that up. They always bring that up and say, "Oh, well, if Yah's able, if the Most High is able to forgive him, he's able to forgive anybody, or whatever the case is." So, but for us, again, we understand a little bit more deeper from a certain standpoint to understand the journey, understand why, like that, Yah still there's consequences for his actions when it's all said and done. And if we think about that specific moment, he was in a very low estate and he put on sackcloth and ashes, or he put ashes on his head or something like that. And he was very distraught. He was very in a low place. And I mean, in the Psalms, you see a little bit more too, a lot more where he was in various moments. So I was attest and say like that's a direct connection to someone in the low estate truly being forgiven, in mercy. Because if we don't have mercy, we're not forgiven and also pardoned. I mean, literally, we would not be able to survive anything. We wouldn't be able to do anything. Like this would we wouldn't be able to walk. Um, I think that's somewhere in Ezra, uh, fourth Ezra. He says something like that. Like, if Yah has not given out mercy, it wouldn't even be good for us because we wouldn't survive anything. Um,
Yeah, even when um, Absalom was trying to rule everything and David fled, right?
mm,
It's the same thing. We all have our our times, you know. Um, and that's when they took care of him while he was out until everything happened. But that's another thing that, like, besides the other stuff that he did,
mhm.
forgiven, he kind of didn't, obviously he didn't want to fight against Absalom, and then Absalom getting the people to follow him, and then he fled. So um that was another, like, a low point for David as well, I would think.
Yeah, that's true. We can't even imagine being in those situations, you know.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And then it says here in verse 6 too, it says, but the mighty shall be mightily tested. So I'm like, yeah, in that situation, there's a lot of tests that came his way. Um, a lot of tests that definitely came his way. Um, it says for verse 7, for Yahuwah of all will not have respect for any man's person. So in a footnote here, let's see here. It says that it's in another translation. Basically, it says, "For Yahuwah of all will not shrink from a face of man." So I like how that's put there too, um, and that gives a really good connection to the respecting of any man's person. Um, that no matter who is powerful in this world, it doesn't matter even if you're at a low estate or whoever, like y'all will never shrink to a single man ever. So when it's all said and done, everybody's on the same level from the standpoint of judgment. And though he has given some to do this and some to do that. And then there's another scripture that says he's even made some rich and some poor. So I like that connection there that he will not shrink from a face of any man. And it gives a few scriptures there to look at too. Let's see here. So it says, neither will he reverence greatness, for he himself made small and great, and alike he taketh thought for all. But upon the mighty shall searching scrutiny come. For you, therefore, O rulers, are my words. Sorry, for you, therefore, O rulers, are my words, that ye may learn wisdom and not fall away. So there's a judgment that's presented in the beginning, and that's a warning essentially. And then now there's instruction here to essentially escape that judgment, to do better, to grow in righteousness, right? So it's like a call to action. Sometimes you got to get some stiff-necked people to really understand you are in sin in order to turn away from that sin, or to just show them like this is wrong. This is how bad this is. And someone hopefully, you get their attention here, and then they're able to say, okay, you know what, you're right, and they're feeling some type of way to say, okay, I really need to get this right. So now it's transitioning. Those transitions in the word is, especially in these wisdom scriptures, are very important. Whether the transition words or just the transition of that whole portion, you'll see it in a lot of proverbs. You'll see it in Sirach, and then you just have to connect these different pieces together. Um, So, like it says here, um, that you may learn wisdom and not fall away. So, in very basic terms, learning wisdom will allow you not to fall away, right? So, just like in First Baruch, it said that if Yasharal would have learned wisdom, if they would have held tight to it, if they would have understood it in fullness, they would have never been pulled out of their land. They would have been able to stay in their land. They would have been able to thrive there and do what they were supposed to do. I think that's somewhere in chapter 3. But wisdom, and this now is going to tell you about wisdom. It says, for they that holily observe holy things shall be made holy. Set apart things shall be made set apart. And they that are taught them shall find a defense. Earnestly desire, therefore, my words. Yearn for them, and ye shall be taught. So now it's speaking in like a third person that you'll see in like a Proverbs 8, where wisdom is talking essentially. Yearn for them, and ye shall be taught. So I was wondering if they had any other. footnote here. So it says verse 4, footnote 4 at the end of verse 11. It says the Greek word includes the idea of moral discipline as well as intellectual learning. So the idea of moral discipline as well as intellectual learning. So yearn for moral discipline, let's just say, and intellectual learning. So that's also, again, that's all in the Ruach. So you will see, especially in the book of Enoch, where it says that um that let's just say Shinnok, he mentions something about his the power, the intellect. It says, let me see here. Wait 1 second. It says, okay, so in chapter 37, verse 2, um, he saw a vision, right? And I think he's telling his son, if I'm not mistaken. And he's saying, this is the commencement of the word of wisdom, which I received to declare and tell to those who dwell upon the earth. So just to make a note here, in the Book of Jubilees, it says that Shinnok made he was the first one to write a testimony. Okay, first one to write a testimony, and that it was given to the whole entire world. It was for the whole world, for every man, and for judgment purposes especially. But he also had in mind those who would be in the last times. And that's chapter 1. It says those who would be essentially approaching and being in tribulation. But again, there's different seasons that has happened throughout time that all of these words that he was written in the first testimony that could be applied to. And that's including the first testimony ever written about, especially Yahusha Hamashiach as the elect one, which is a huge portion of the book of Enoch. And it just connects again luminaries and different things like that. Now, most people in this community use the Book of Enoch to just read it and talk about the calendar and things like that, but they skip over the wisdom portion of why he's talking about the luminaries in the first place. Like they skip over the foundations of that. And it's again, it's a very intellectual wisdom type of book where you have to read it and see the patterns. It's not, you can't just read it one time and everything will kind of connect because again, you'll see all the patterns. So he's telling you here that this is word of wisdom. Like he has words of wisdom that's in this book, essentially. And so he's talking about this second vision of wisdom. Right. So going back to the text, he says, hear from the beginning and understand to the end the holy things which I utter in the presence of Yahuwah Sabaoth. Those who were before, thought it good to speak. So even though he had the first testimony ever written, there's other people who had testimony as well, who had connections as well, who had understanding, who had, knowledge and understanding of the word as well. Um, and then at some point, I think in the time of Enosh, if I'm not mistaken, it did say, I think in Jubilees it makes it a little bit more clear, or maybe in Genesis, but I know the Sefer translation says that they were calling on the name of Yahuwah, like the actual name of Yahuwah at some point. So there would have been knowledge and understanding that was getting passed down, especially those who were walking in righteousness, but to all people on earth, they would have known something, something about some truths and people are making their choices like they're doing today. So it's no wonder that somewhere in scripture in the New Testament, quote unquote, it talks about, things happening after the whole world knows some truth, like knows things that are in the word that's about truth. And it's a trigger point because Yah is making sure, again, he's not a respecter of persons. He's making sure everybody has a level playing field that essentially you were given some type of truth. Everybody's given some type of truth, a choice, right? To choose to follow in the way of Yahuwah or not. However much mercy he gives to each person, pardoning, all of that. Rulers, you know, all the way to the people at the bottom. So, that is huge because it's about judgment. It comes down to judgment. It comes down to we can't fathom all of the ways of Yah and how he looks at all these different things and the timing that he does and considers this and considers that, writes this, writes that on there, and judgment this and judgment that. It's beyond our comprehension of just can't even fathom, you know, how it all works other than what we can understand in the word, of different things we're supposed to do, to follow in the word, follow his instructions in order to not be condemned here or counted as, hey, we made a sin of omission here or commission or omission, different things of that nature. So he had words of wisdom, right? And then he says, verse 2, let not us who come after obstruct the beginning of wisdom. So he's telling you, I got some things that I grew up with and I learned, and then I'm also adding to what you to what Yah gave me, and I'm adding to these words of wisdom based off this vision. He's saying, let us not destroy these things, right? So Yahusha, again, looking at him, he culminated like his whole entire being, his presence, and his self, like brought so much from the beginning, to where he was, to the whole, to everything. So in his parables, when you keep reading it and studying it, you're gonna find again things in the OT that he's bringing into this renewed covenant, essentially, that he's bringing to life and like putting it all together. Like there's nobody who spoke like that. No one, because everybody was given something in some type of fashion. But it does say in scripture that even some of the prophets were not understanding, like they wanted to look into a lot of things too. Yeah, imagine Daniel, like he's going through these visions and things. He's like, oh my God, he's going through it. He's given some understanding, but he doesn't know all of the connectivity. Like the angels have to actually like, teach him certain things. But you got Yahusha, he knows it. He's already been taught by his father. He's speaking what his father's already taught him from the beginning, before man was even on earth, before day one. And he's literally like, so that imagery of when he gets here and he's sitting on his throne and he's that the scriptures is like in Isaiah and things like that, saying like people going up to that mountain to hear his wisdom, to his intellectual wisdom, to hear him talk about instructions and a word and pure things. I mean, and they're coming from everywhere because by that point, he's already destroyed mountains and things like that. And he's sanctifying the earth again when he sits on his throne. And he has these massive highways that people can like go through, like in the earth, all everything, anywhere in the earth, you can get on these highways to get to where he's at. And so you can imagine people just flooding in just to hear, just to listen, just to see him. Like it's amazing. So then he says back to Shinnok, he says, until the present time period, never has there been given before Yahuwah Sabaoth that which I have received. So there's another connection right there to the first testimony ever written. He says, wisdom according to the capacity of my intellect. He's very smart, very smart dude, very, 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 very blessed person. And Sirach says there was nobody made like Shinnok. There's very high praise of this man. And according to the pleasure of Yahuwah Sabaoth, that which I have received from him, a portion of life eternal. So when you're reading the book of Shinnok and you can connect this intellectual wisdom in the Ruach and allow it to bless you and connect, to, again, this is literally a portion of eternal life. That's how you know you really are walking truly in righteousness from a standpoint of really allowing y'all to give you these wisdom nuggets, these different things that again you're using for your life. Like that's not a joke. Like that's huge. So you talk about a book or words of wisdom that was given to all men, and somehow at some point in history, it gets down to you. Like that's truly a blessing. Like he already had it, y'all already had it planned for you to gain some wisdom. It's a portion of life eternal. That's a blessing. That's truly, truly a blessing. So I wanted to throw that in there. It does mention something else about the ruach of intellect, like intellectual wisdom, that this elect one also was has because Yah has poured that upon him. It's this imagery of like Yahusha, like he's given all these different things, his righteousness, all that, like it's being poured upon him, which includes intellectual wisdom. All right. So chapter 6, uh, verse 12, it says, "Brilliant and unfading is wisdom, and easily is she beheld of them that love her, and she is found of them that seek her." So footnote 5 here, it does say this line is omitted in the text of Codex B, though added in the margin by a later hand. It is found in the other great uncials as well as in the Latin Syriac versions. Um, yeah, so it has some connections there about different things that maybe have been added or taken away, things of the nature. The big thing about here is seeking her. I know on my end I have to do even more seeking. I know I seek, but I feel like I'm not seeking enough. You know, it's like you kind of, I think everybody has a certain standard that they set for themselves sometimes. But I know on my end, there's so much more I can do. Even in the midst of crazy schedule and whatever it may be, I still, hold myself to a standard of saying, I can feel it in my ruach that I need to seek a little bit more. Right. And so I've been taking more steps to do so. But I want it to where, again, like something like this, like she's found of them that seek her, like it's not supposed to be like from a man's standpoint, like when you have a woman that you love, like it's like you could kind of think of it in in that stance, um, you know, but it wasn't supposed to be written in this way where we think of it in that nature. It's still again that connectivity of seeking Yah ultimately. I think with the Greek, especially when they made an idol of wisdom, Sophia, like they took it that far where they actually like, okay, yes, we're seeking Sophia. We're seeking this idol, and they actually pray to this idol, things like that. So that's a huge thing because even in this community, you will find some stuff. I don't know if y'all seen it before. You will find some people talking about wisdom, as a woman, and they take it like far. They really have taken it far. And they're trying to avoid still doing it the Greek way, Sophia route, but they've still taken it pretty far in an idol type of way. So again, this is just helping us get the understanding of, okay, we really do need to seek wisdom. We need to, have her at our doors, things of that nature that it's going to talk about. Um, verse 13, she forestalleth them that desire her, being made known beforehand. He that rises early for her shall not have to toil, for he shall find her sitting at his gates. You see, like that imagery, like imagine just waking up, like whether or not Yah may wake you up in the middle of the night to pray or, drop some wisdom on you, whatever it may be. Like you don't have to toil for that because you've already been in muscle memory to seek wisdom. Wisdom is essentially the instructions of Yahuwah on how to live this life. So when we're going through stuff, and sometimes it hits us hard or whatever it may be, whatever, like imagine it just coming to you like his instruction and his covering and his blessings, just coming straight to your mind because that's what your mind is already settled on, his word. And that's where I strive to be too. Like I don't want to be inconsistent. I don't want to be up and down. I want to be consistently that way where again that wisdom is coming straight to my heart and I know how to act in every moment, so that way also you don't repeat transgression. You don't fall into the same traps and into the same patterns that the enemy is trying to put you back in. It's key. Um, verse 15, for to have her in mind is perfectness of understanding. have her in mind is perfectness of understanding. And he that waketh for her will quickly be free from care. Right there. All the isn't there scriptures about the cares of life or something like that, y'all? Uh I feel like I was talking to somebody about this. Cares of life scripture. There's one in Mark 4:19. It says, "And the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the lusts of other things entering in choke the word and it becomes unfruitful." Mm. So now that reminds me of doubt. And in the Shepherd of Hermas, it says that doubt is the daughter of the devil, and faith is the daughter of Yahuwah.
Says
So,
Mark chapter 4, verse 19. It says, "In the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the lusts of other things entering in choke the word and it becomes unfruitful." It says, "And these are they which are sown on good ground, and such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100." So, of course, it's going to the next level of person, next level up, so to speak. But yeah, there's another one. Hold on a second. I just had it. Hold on, go back. There's another one, Luke 21 and 34.
okay.
Let me go find that real quick and see how that differentiates. Luke 21 and 34. It says, "And take heed to yourselves, lest any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, so that day come upon you unawares." So, in other words, stay sober and be vigilant, so that way you're not overtaken by the things that this world has to offer you. So you're always ready for the Most High to come back and, do what He's going to do to clean this place up, so to speak.
Yeah, that's really good. And I mean, the only way we really, again, to stay in that place is to truly have wisdom, to dwelling with us, because this world will try to pull us away, from that mindset. I mean, in the same book, Wisdom of Solomon, it says, Yahuwah loves only those who dwell with wisdom. That's like, I think in chapter 7. He loves those who only dwell with wisdom. And that wisdom essentially is still mirroring his son. Like it's still the ruach of wisdom. It mirrors directly to his son. So it's still like that connectivity, and it's like we cannot be set apart from this world unless we dwell with wisdom. Because it's always something just trying to come and pull us from that path, that discipline. So again, like you said, just being sober, like the scripture is saying, and vigilant and being aware. I mean, only wisdom. Us walking in true wisdom, which again, it's not detached from fear. We must have understanding what fear is. There's also a connection with fear, not just being reverence, but it's trust. We have to trust in Yah's word, trust fully in his covenant and the things that he said, not thinking just, oh, I'm gonna get a reward for following his instruction. No, it's because I love him. I love the Father through Yahusha in the Ruach, So that fear, wisdom, and righteousness, it's always going to come around. It's always something that we have to dwell in and engage in because that's everything. So, that's why I say for me personally, like, again, like I'm trying to be as consistent as possible, stay in that mindset and, really get over little things that may, here and there frustrate me or try to pull me off track and things like that. But, this is it. Like, you got to have that instruction coming to you and helping you with those frustrations or whatever you're dealing with. But if I don't dig deep enough to go say, okay, what else can I pull from this word, and embed in my heart? that will come up immediately when I get into this place or whatever it may be. So that way I know how to respond accordingly. That's what I have to continue to build on that. And that's what we all have to do. So we can truly be free of care. Like, um, so verse 16, it says, "For she herself goeth about seeking them that are worthy of her, and in their paths appeareth graciously unto them, and in every purpose she meeteth them." Um, I see. For the true beginning of her is a desire for instruction. So here's another step-by-step process. And I think we've talked about this before in different studies, but again, it always continues to come to life. For the true beginning of her is a desire for instruction. So everything that we read earlier for what wisdom does, what the Ruach does, when we are in this certain place, we have to have a desire for instruction. So, going, let's just say Abel and Cain, they were both given instruction from their mother, from Adam and Eve. But, when Cain didn't do as well as Abel, he didn't go seek instruction. Like his heart wasn't, oh, you know what? Let me figure out what I did wrong, or let me ask y'all what I did wrong. Let me ask my parents. He was upset, you know. He didn't have a desire for instruction truly. And sometimes maybe that's a little bit of like what you can see in the community sometimes, or just people in general. Maybe us, we were there at some point, maybe we were there. But sometimes some people I've noticed, like in this community, especially leaders, they will tell you it's like they carry this thing where they've read so much, they've read everything, they know everything basically. It's like they can't learn anything else. They can't receive anything else, like no correction, no nothing. So they're essentially just stiff-necked. So there's no other instruction that they can gain. And then you'll just notice like these little things about them. It's like, dude, like, they're not even able to gain anything that y'all may be trying to show them from a correction standpoint, because they're already signed their heart up to just be hard-hearted, like to be arrogant, prideful.
Could I jump in real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because it'll tie into what you had said a little bit earlier, like, the fear and this and that. And, the timing I'm in right now, because he deals with us, right? Each one of us, where we're at, what level we're at, what we can handle, right? So he's teaching me in this period of this era of time is my strength comes from him and my courage comes from him. But also Shakan, which means to dwell, to abide, to rest in him. And that's what I need to do and want to do. And which, when we do that, and I know when I do that, I have such shalom, you know, and it's like, okay, like perfect love casts out all fear, right? So if we're going to be truly resting and dwelling and abiding in him, right, then fear shouldn't creep in, though it happens. I don't get me wrong, but to the best of our ability is to rest in him. So I just kind of wanted to add that. That's the three things I've been learning: the strength, the courage, and to rest in him. Um, the way, you know, everything's going. So thank you for letting me share.
Yeah, that's huge, sister. I'll ask you too. I mean, are you, I know like Hebrew 4, right? Where it says, if you hear the voice today, remember it's emphasizing that. And essentially, what I took from that some time ago was not just, you know, even though we observe Shabbat, some people should, observe it on different days, things like that. But, every day, whatever day you observe Shabbat, some people, you know, go through so much during the week, and then they only rest on Shabbat. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, have you found that like Yah is calling you to rest in Him and have this shalom? Not just
every day.
obviously on that Shabbat.
Right. I think the Shabbat, it's like we should treat every day like a Shabbat. We should be in Him every day, doing everything we do on that day, every single day, right? There shouldn't be a difference. I mean, like there is, don't get me wrong, but we should be seeking, doing the same. I'm trying to explain it. Am I explaining? I'm sorry if I'm not explaining it right.
You're saying it right.
Okay. Okay. Because to me, I feel that it should be every day. The Shabbat should be like every day where you like in him, like just the learning and absorbing and growing. And that should be kind of like, I'll give an example of the world when they say, well, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it should be every day. You're right. It should be every day. You should be feeding people yeah. So
Yep.
that's kind of like what I'm trying to say is like for the, you know, like you said, they do the thing and then they wait for it on the Shabbat and then do it. No, you should be doing it every day. Don't wait here. It should be done every day, you know. So that was the point I was trying to make. So
That's where he says, Yahusha says, he says, chapter 11 of Matthew, verse 27, all things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knows the Son but the Father. Neither knows any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomever the Son will reveal him. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So then, you have the connections, scriptures where it says Yahusha is the essence of the Shabbat. He is the essence. He is the Shabbat. Like he is the essence. So if he's saying again, come unto me and learn of him, again, it's not a one day, oh, okay, cast his burden upon him, essentially. Or he's not even saying, I'm only meek on a certain day. I'm only lowly in heart on a certain day. Or I'm only offering this rest on a certain day. Because imagine if we really tried to do that, we would burn out so fast. Like it would just be too much, and that's again going back to what you're saying, sister, like not doing it in our strength. Because every time we try to do it in our strength, every time we try to think in our own ways, every time we try to do that, we always find ourselves failing at some point or having a shortcoming. And it's like, how long do we essentially, it's still stiff neckness if we're not able to, you know, finally get to that point to say, hey, okay, you know what? I am going to cast this burden, upon you. I am going to find that labor and rest, like it's something in our hearts, to each his own, however, sometimes it could be just, I think it's something somebody, each person's going to deal with based off of their experience or whatever it may be. But it just continues to come back down to trust. Do you trust Yahusha unto his father? Do you trust that he has this like he can provide this rest for you? Do you also learn of him to understand the essence of the Shabbat to say, you know what, I'm ceasing from work, I'm ceasing from these different things, but what am I ceasing and doing in that standpoint? Am I ceasing and looking up and rejoicing and also thinking about the things that are coming? You know, am I thinking upon those things to allow my body, my heart, my mind to receive restoration from the Ruach, to hope on these things, etc. So again, this is where I think about like for tribulation purposes, like when stuff is just really wild, that we have to think on these things. Like people think that they're gonna be able to have a calendar, that they're gonna keep during those times and whatever, but it's like we're gonna have to have Shabbat the essence of it in us, in our hearts, in our ruach, walking every single day with that hope, and striving and continuously walking in righteousness as we deal with everything in these times.
Yes, because the kingdom is within us,
Facts, yeah.
and we are the temple. So the kingdom is in us. So we have to, yeah, just what you said. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, thank you.
And you're on point. Because what was the message, sister, that they kept saying that you just don't hear enough of these days? That the kingdom is at hand.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, when's the last time you heard that? When's the last time you heard that?
Yeah, it's, yeah, like you were sharing,
Amen.
yeah, you got to, it comes down to us individually, right? And we have to um follow where the Ruach's leading. And the others aren't going to follow. And because he is going to protect our walk, our shalom, because it's his purpose in us. It's for his purpose. It's all about him. So anybody in our life that's going to jeopardize that, he's not going to allow. If we don't step back from obeying him to say, okay, no, this one, this one, cut the cord, cut the baggage,
Yeah.
he will remove it for us. He will remove them out of our lives because, and what I've learned is like, and I got to always keep repeating in my head, no, he didn't forget you. No, he loves you and he's protecting you. It's not punishment, because sometimes we think it's punishment, right? Or no, it's protection. And when I look back on certain things in my life, I'm in awe how he saved me and protected me from certain people. I'm amazed. And it's like, yeah, that's what it is. So I have to always repeat to myself, because we're human, we have to do that, right? Um, that no, he's got a purpose. It's his purpose in your life. So he's going to protect his purpose for you in your life. So, and I had to kind of see it that way. And now I just go forward with that, you know. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think that's the next step, for us as a whole is, when Abraham was told what he was told and he believed it, you know, without question. It's like that is the essence of us walking in true faith, wisdom, righteousness, and fear. Is like we don't have to ever question it, because the only person, the only entity that's trying to get into our mind, into that garden of our mind is Hasatan. He's trying to make you think that, you know, you're this, you're that, or whatever the case is, especially, through interactions with people. And you're like, okay, why is somebody tripping like that? Or why would they, whatever it may be, to each his own person, but we deal with certain things at work, in interactions with people, and it's like some things will make you question this and that, but it's like you look at everybody that has unlocked the code to like where Hasatan could not, Satan could not penetrate their mind, their heart. Like they didn't question anything, and that's for us. It's like we gotta be like it's also the imagery of like healing. Like if y'all had told you to lay your hands on someone to heal, like some people, like it's not for us to question whether or not it's going to work. You know, it's for us to go in and say, yes, y'all, I will do what you're asking me to do. And no matter how it looks, no matter if the person is fully healed or healed a little bit here and there, or maybe, in that moment, it wasn't for somebody to be healed in that moment. Maybe it's for a later time. Like whatever y'all want. Excuse me.
Right, right.
That's for us
And
to trust in.
kind of, I want, if I could share this really quick. It's kind of like when I was reading in Enoch, and I think it's 105. I don't think it's 106, 105. When Noah was born, right? You know how he was born, right? Okay. He glowed, right? I mean, he spoke, he glowed. And Lamech, what? He was afraid. He was afraid. He thought he had like watches in him or whatever. So what did he do? He went to Methuselah and then went to Enoch. And Enoch confirms it. He says, no, he is fully human, but he's the only one with the complete, pure, whole genetic, untainted. That means the other ones were tainted with watches and all of that. And that was Yahuwah showing them that this child is mine. He's set apart and he has a purpose. And it was just, and when I read that, right, when they describe how he was born, his eyes, his skin, everything, right? And when I couldn't stop, there's certain things in the scriptures, right, that I have to go back. I can't stop thinking about. Like there's Melchizedek, there's this and that, right? Okay. But when it stands out like that and nobody like responds, I mean, it affected me when I read it. I'm just like, okay, this is right here. This is magnificent. This is special right here. And then like if I share with somebody, oh, did you? Oh, yeah, yeah. He was an albino, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You're missing the whole point. So I just wanted to share that with you. There's certain things that he does that I sometimes I'm speechless for words because of what he does, how he does it. Like when I look back at baby Noah, how he made that a complete sign to show them, right? And Lamech had to go and ask because he was afraid, and right. And Enoch had to comfort him, saying, "No." And it's in the book of Enoch as well, yeah, because that's where it's from. But
Yeah.
um, I just wanted to share that because that always like got me was his birth and how he spoke that young, just everything about it, just everything about it. So it's like,
Yeah.
he,
That's I mean, it's amazing. Like it's just
mhm.
I mean, that's the difference. I feel like the difference between, different people when we're reading this word, taking certain things to heart in scripture and letting it really bless you, and like again, that's I think we were talking about it before. It's just like those different things you can kind of, build on and really let it hit. Like that's what the Ruach will bring to your remembrance, in different moments of time and say, okay, this is the imagery of us, of us like striving in righteousness essentially and just like using someone else's life as an example, but also seeing like, what who Noah was for y'all to set him up as the next, like the rebuild essentially, like,
Yeah.
righteousness is like it just keeps going back to the foundations. You
Yes, and it keeps coming back to the seed. It
know?
had to be pure for Yahushua to come, right? So who was the only one pure? Noah. He Yahuwah made that happen. Why? Because it can't be tainted with any human, with anything, right? It has to come through, right? And then for Yahushua, it's always about the seed. It's always about that. His seed had to come through that. So it's going to go all that and all the people he used all the way down till Yeshua was born through Mary, right? It's just it's just mind blowing when you see how he does things and or uses people out like a Rahab, right? All the ones a Moabite woman or this, right? He pulls them in different bloodlines and uses them for his purpose to show us it's not about that. It's about who believes. It comes down to the heart. Who believes in him, right? So it's just, I could go like so many ways with this, but thank you for letting me share.
Yeah. At some point, at some point, there's another text called Lives of the Prophets. So you can read about um different prophets and how they were born and like little there's different accounts. And I know with Elijah, let me see here if I can go Daniel, Michael, Joel. Yeah, I'm just going all the way down to should be coming up Elijah. So we see right there, 117.
Okay.
At the time of his birth, his father Shabak saw how certain men of shining white appearance addressed the babe, and they wrapped him in swaddling clothes of fire and gave him a flame of fire to eat. And when he went and reported this in Jerusalem, the oracle gave answer, fear not, for his dwelling will be light, and his word revelation he will judge Yasharal with sword and with fire. So I always remember this part about Elijah because, again, he was he got pulled up, into heaven, alongside, Shinnok was another one who, again, it says in Sirach, he was not made like anyone, on earth, and how, he wisdom of chapter 4. I'll show that real quick.
Okay. But did you, and I know you know this, but did you know Shinnok was the seventh from Adam?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Numbers mean everything. The number seven, numbers mean everything. I mean,
Everything.
it does. So, when I learned that, I'm like, okay, there it is. There's a number. Just like everything comes in threes, it's just, yeah.
That's facts. So on point. I mean, it's not by accident. Like it's
No, right, right. You're right. Nothing's by accident. Nothing's good. It's his order. It's his plan. That's why, I clearly could understand when he says, my thoughts aren't your thoughts and my ways aren't your ways. Oh man, yes. Oh yes. I can,
absolutely.
yes. Because when I see when he does certain things, I'm like, whoa, I've never thought of that. It's just like, whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I mean, how much more fear does that bring us? Like trust in y'all. Like that's what it's supposed to do. It's like, we get into these situations in our lives, it seems like it's more than what it is, but it's nothing. It's like we again going back to wisdom what we're reading. Wisdom should be coming to us immediately to the point where it wants to dwell with us. It wants to again give us that carefree, that cast your burdens unto you, right? Free Yahusha. And that's the muscle memory like we should be in. Because again, we're talking about again our thoughts, our ways, not his ways, not the Father's ways. Yahusha knows that. He lives and breathes in his Father's ways, not his own. Not a single thing is of his own. So it's like we have that example, and this, again, it's like the more we know, the more we're gaining. This is Yah telling us, like, equipping us, like, okay, I'm giving you this moment right now to stop and read and to gain, and so now we have to build on that. So the next thing that comes around, he's going to test us some and say, okay, are you going to apply what I told you or not?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a test, kind of like in school. Oh, wait. How about the pop quiz? Remember in school, pop quiz? Oh no, I didn't. So, do we ever get pop quiz? Sure.
And basically, did you study what I told you to
Uh-huh.
study or
And
not?
if we fail it, he's going to have us do it again.
Yep.
You know, it's until we get it right. Until we get it right, and it makes sense. Why would you move on if you can't get that right?
True.
There's so much like so much there. When you break, you got to break everything down. You really do. And when you break it down and you see the steps as you're breaking down, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Man, oh man. This part I was going to show too about Shinnok right here. Chapter 4. It says, But the righteous man, though he die before his time, shall be at rest. For honorable old age is not reckoned by length of time, nor is it measured by the number of years. But understanding is gray hairs unto men, and an unspotted manner of life is ripe old age. Being well pleasing unto Yahuwah, he was beloved. So it's going into this portion about Enoch. So don't say Enoch right off the bat, but it's saying here, even in the footnote here, it says obviously Enoch is here meant. Um, in Ecclesiasticus, whatever that number is. But it says Greek almost identical words are used in reference to Enoch. There was no need to mention him by name, as the accepted fact of his translation was so well known to the Jews of the dispersion as well as those of Palestine. Whenever Elijah's translation is referred to in Jewish literature, further details are given. The reference in the present connection to Enoch is quite natural, for he was a perfect man, and the many legends about him had made his name very familiar. So going back to the top right here, it says, "And living among sinners, he was translated." So he was he well pleasing unto Yahuwah, he was beloved, and living among sinners, he was translated. He was caught away lest wickedness should change his understanding, or guile deceive his soul. For the fascination of badness falsifieth things that are good, and the giddy whirl of desire perverteth the guileless mind. And being perfected in a brief space, he lived for long ages. For well pleasing unto Yahuwah was his soul, therefore hastened he from the midst of wickedness. So this is an interesting part too, where people who praise Enoch so much to the point where they say, okay, he was without sin. Again, it says here he was perfected. So everybody was born to sin. Everyone. Only one that wasn't born to sin is essentially Yahusha, because he came in through the Ruach and through Mary, right? So it's a different pathway there from a certain standpoint. But with Shinnok, um, one of our brothers had did some math to kind of calculate, like, when he was translated and how it kind of equates to like our life as far as like age when he really started walking in y'all. But he said it was something around like maybe like 20 something or something of that nature. So interesting enough, you look at the whole priesthood ages and, doesn't mean that he wasn't like a good kid or anything like that. Cause, other scriptures you see Abraham was very young. Some scriptures say 3 years old, and some, say like, again, they were walking in some type of righteousness, brought up in some type of righteousness and walking good. But when he really was walking, and had truth, and then he started again departing from people to spend more time with the angels and learning the heavenly things, looking at the heavenly tablets. Like that was around the 20s to the 30s. Like he was getting up that age, and so even with the priesthood, that's the age number around the 20s where a young man can go into training into the priesthood and things like that. So again, that's a mirror to us. That's what our makeup is about too, like being a priest or priestess, like understanding the holy things, the set apart things, understanding that, again, we're walking not as worldly man. Like we have instructions, we have things that we are trying to walk as, and essentially, do the things that we're supposed to do in order to be, again, set apart. So with Shinnok, he was taken from the earth because y'all didn't want anything to diminish him, to diminish like what he grew into to be, and to also give him a job, in this Garden of Eden, as it says in Jubilees, that he's writing down, all the actions and things of man. Like he has a very important job when it comes down to judgment and giving that report right, to the Father for Yahusha to act on when he returns. So it's like again, this hierarchy, this connection, this like his ways, the ways of judgment, the ways of no partiality, the no respect of persons, the everything. And so for this man to be taken, it does say in Second Baruch, when as tribulation is approaching, it says it's best. I'm just paraphrasing it. It says it's best not to approach those times, right? The times we're saying it's going to be as the days of Noah, and it does say in Jubilees that it's supposed to be even more wicked than those times. It says it's best not to approach that time if you are double-minded, if you are caught in both worlds, if you are not ready. Like if you, it's best to not approach those times. And it's very interesting as it says it, because again, people are getting caught in both worlds where, like we read, like we need to be carefree. We need to be trusting. We need to be understanding Yah's going to take care of us no matter what and give us that wisdom on how to navigate. But then some are like, nah, like, but I still want to survive on my own. I still want to do this on my own. Nothing wrong with gathering skills, but it's the difference when you really think like the likelihood of survival, till Yahusha comes out of that sky or, et cetera. Like, it's very, when
Yeah.
we're really being honest.
Well, to add to that, I don't know if I shared this with you.
Hmm.
Have you ever felt this way? Because I have no desire for the world. So I stay home a lot, the whole thing. But and with everything going on, I mean, how evil it is. I mean, just everything, as you know. And trying to find true, real people in the community is disheartening, right? As you know. And there's times, we get overwhelmed with all of this, right? And I just want to hide under his wings and say, just hide me, protect me. I know we got to go through this. That's why I pray for his strength and his courage to get through every day. Especially when you're by yourself, there's nobody. It's like, what do you do? Where do I go? I have to totally depend on him. I can't depend on anybody here. Everybody thinks I'm nuts because what I believe in. So it's like he knows. It's like, where do I go? What do I do? It's like I totally have to just, you know, hold on to him for him to show me what to do because I don't know. I don't know. And that's why I pray for the strength to get through this and the courage because you need courage to get through this. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm a wimp, forgive me. I'm a wimp. And I just want to be in a place where we're going to go to where there's no more, none of this. No evil, no pain, no crime, no nothing. And so I just say, I just want to hide under his wings. Did you ever feel that way? Or am I the only one that feels this way?
Oh, you're on point. I know, brothers, we don't always, um, share emotional things like to, in a certain place, like, things that we go through because, we're always told to just stay strong, especially if we have families and, we
Yeah.
go through a lot, but it's like, again, I think any brother, that's really walking in y'all, that's humble enough to tell you like, like, again, I mean, we got so much that we deal with in this world. And, like I'm saying, like about the times that's coming, the likelihood of survival from a standpoint of like, okay, fourth Ezra 6, where it's saying, blessed are those who can make it, to the end, essentially. It's going to be really tough. But at the same time, even if we have to die in righteousness, that's okay too. And that's like you said, it's the bravery, it's the courage, it's it goes again back to trust that our life is not our own regardless. And it's like we understand too as brothers that have family again, like we don't know what's going to happen fully to our families, and we do the best that we can. We go to work. We trust that Yah's going to protect our family while they're at home. If we have homeschooled children and, a housewife and I'm sorry, a wife that, stays at home, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like we can only put our trust in Yah, to get us to work, to, continue to provide for us, to allow us to be healthy to do so. And, and then out here people are crazy. People are just doing all types of crazy things too. So, from a male standpoint to a female standpoint or female standpoint to a male, it's in different ways. It's in ways that we are essentially growing in righteousness, but again, trusting in him and singleness of mind as much as we can to where again we do want to rest under his wings and this place is not it. Like it's the stuff that's going on in this world, it's not it. It's not it. Like so there's other scripture too, that's for first Baruch that's saying like, or first Jubilees chapter 1, or second Baruch also chapter 1. It says that we will yearn to be in the land that he's chosen. Like we would yearn for it. Like we have a desire for it to go there because we know it's covered. We know it's protected. He's the only one that could bring us to that place. So yeah, sister, like, you're not the only one, not by yourself or, you got family, whatever it is, for those who's really walking in y'all, like meekness and, are really seeing what's going on in this world and know the times, like what better way can we get our souls order and not, you know, but to understand that hope is what we really develop construction.
Yeah.
Not
Thank you
even
so
a single
much.
ounce of doubt. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're on point. Like
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so
definitely
emotional and sensitive to begin with, which doesn't make it easier. But thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That encouraged me. Thank you. I need that. I need that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
absolutely, sister. Absolutely. Um, let me see this one right here. Here it is right here. Fourth Maccabees. And we can I'm gonna have to go soon anyway, but I'll show this portion. It's from Fourth Maccabees chapter 7. If I can pull it up here. It says this circumstance then is by no means an objection. Some who have weak reasoning are governed by their passions. So background, he's talking about again the things that come against us as in our flesh tries to destroy us and keep us down, and we there's a reasoning within the wisdom, the ruach of wisdom, and that reasoning is connected to wisdom being walking in prudence, having self control, um, knowledge, understanding Yahuwah's order, like understanding what he wants us to do. And that reasoning is a wall to anything that's trying to come against us. Because again, the passions can continue, like the things that we go through in life and whatever it may be, like it could try to come against you to where some people are not content and some people don't have self-control, like in different little ways. But this reasoning, if we master it in the Ruach, will be a wall to those passions and we won't even fold to those things. Right. So it's saying some people are governed by their passions instead of the reasoning that's in the Ruach of wisdom. And they allow those things again. We all been in certain places. We all may still be dealing with that now, you know, but some people are able to, govern those passions through the reasoning in the wisdom of the Ruach of wisdom. So it says, verse 21 says, what person walking in observance by the whole rule of philosophy, so not the philosophy of this world, but just by the understanding of Yahuwah, like understanding this whole instruction, understanding it, let's say also through intellectual wisdom in the Ruach, because you're understanding this is the culmination of wisdom, fear, wisdom, and righteousness, and you're understanding the pillars of it and walking in these paths of righteousness through all the diligence that he's providing us to walk in and understand how to be diligent. He says, what person walking in observance to these things, to the whole world of philosophy, and believing in Yahuwah, and knowing that it is a blessed thing to endure all kinds of hardship for virtue, would not for the sake of the faith master his passion. So again, this is what we're basically talking about. What we can definitely end on, is again, we have to, the things that's trying to come against us, the things that we're weak in. If we know the things that are of Yahuwah, we know these things have blessings. We like everything is a blessing. Everything is to help us again stay in that new man. Or truly, if you haven't been in a new man yet, and you're still in the old man, these are the things that's waiting for you. These are the things that you have to partake in, these thought processes, these this understanding, put these things in your heart, like total renewal, and not be in your own body. It's in the body of Yahusha unto the Father. We have to master our passions. We have to master these things that's coming against our soul and our body. So that's what it says in chapter 1. Some things come against the body, like gluttony and gormandizing, and these things that want you to consume. Some things are trying to attack your soul, which is lust and anger and things of that nature. And there's different levels to it. But if you can master your reasoning in the ruach, again, master being a part of wisdom, how we read earlier, allowing wisdom to show up at the door always, not to where you have to toil to seek wisdom, but you literally are receiving wisdom when you open your eyes, when you're sleeping, maybe even in your dreams or something like that. Just imagine just dwelling in wisdom where who is loving you and seeing, you striving in this way where you're conquering every little thing that you're trying, that that you have shortcomings, and your heart is, attached to that, and it's a little process for everybody.
Yeah, I have to jump in when you said when you said reasoning, keyword reasoning, and that's what I've learned when I was reading the apocrypha, and if I don't write things down, I forget. Um, but I forgot which book it was in, and he was saying, he was clarifying, he was explaining that when we, like you said, the things that come against us, we have to have reasoning. You have to reason with it, because if not, it's going to overtake you.
Mm-hmm.
and and that was the first time that I saw it that way. I've never thought about the reasoning thing.
Yeah.
That's what I learned, and I'm like, whoa, yeah. That I mean, so when you said that, that's a key word to me, reasoning, because yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's for Maccabees. Like when I first came across that book, I started reading it a little bit. I saw the word philosophy because I was reading it in that 54 book apocrypha or something like that, with the literal translation or something like that. But I was like, oh no, this because some of these New Testament, some of the New Testament apocrypha. I don't think that's in the New Testament apocrypha, but some of them are a little suspect, and they've been changed and added, like with Gnosticism and things of that nature. So sometimes I would know right off the bat, okay, it's not right. But I had put that book to the side for another read, and then I felt like y'all was like, hey, I need you to look at this again. So I started reading it, and just like you said, like it blew my mind, because again, it brought to life the action, the details of wisdom. Because again, we always, people in this community have come into truth, and they're like, okay, everybody's wise now, just because I know some, some truth now, and I'm not attached to these lies that I was told. But that's not true, because again, I talk about this a lot. Fourth Ezra 14 says there's three pillars of people: unworthy, worthy, and wise. So for us to sit there and just say that we're wise just because we came out of out of some lies, and now the apocrypha, these hidden books are, ours to read immediately without any true foundation, is a problem. And that's what a lot of people have done. And it's just not talked about a lot, because people just think, again, well, I am wise. And it's like, you gotta let Yah give you that wisdom and let him, clarify you as wise than sitting here going around and, people making different posts and stuff like that to get verification that they're wise. You know what I'm saying? To get people to put them on a pedestal to say, hey, yeah, you're the wise one. But it's like, no, it will speak for itself, you know, as you continue to walk in this way. And it's not gonna sound the same for every single person. It don't have to be like that, you know? So it again, it just goes back to I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. I'm listening to my children making music living room. But it just comes back to again the details of reasoning to see, okay, this is like something again we can really understand, in a practical sense, but also understand how deep it is because we deal with it every single day. And it says prudence is the biggest portion of wisdom. So prudence is huge. Like being able to know the caution signs immediately, or you know, the wisdom telling you in your ruach, hey, this is not a path to go down, or this is something that the enemy tried to get you with before, and then have that awareness level and that discernment to continue to, you know, alert you. Like that's huge.
Yes, it is. Even down to, again, different people in your life or what they're saying. And then say, if you say something, people say, oh, you're overthinking, or you did. And no, I can't, I cannot listen to what these other people say because it's heavy in the heart. And that's what he showed me. That's what I follow. And so, yeah, you just confirmed that. Yeah, thank you.
Huge. Let me finish this for my children go wild. So it says verse 23. For the wise and brave man. So wanted to read this again because courage. For the wise and brave man or woman only is master over his passions or her passions. So, I mean, what better way to connect what we were reading about wisdom? For the wise and the brave man, the woman with courage, brave, like the courage is symbolic of knowing and having making the choice to follow Yah regardless of the situation. Going back to Abraham, Jubilees, being faithful in every single one of his afflictions, like every single one, being faithful. The heavens were talking, like people in the heavens were talking about him. Written on the heavenly tablets, like every affliction that he had, he was absolutely faithful. That includes, again, mastering the passions, the emotions that come. Like we're gonna have some emotions that come for sure, like like those feelings. But it's like, are we directly taking it captive and saying, "Here, Yah," like through Yahusha, are we saying it? Take these captive. I want to be in the mind of Yahusha unto the Father. What is that? Some people don't know what that is, but if you don't know what it is, you have to go read how he spoke, how he thought, how. So only the wise and brave man is only is master over his passions. And it brings in, the things about these boys that is talked about that was essentially tortured by Epiphanes, because he wanted them to, go against Yah's instructions, basically. So it says, when it is that even boys imbued with the philosophy of observant reasoning, I like that it says observant reasoning, have conquered still more bitter tortures. For when the tyrant was manifestly vanquished in his first attempt, and being unable to force the old man to eat the unclean thing. So earlier in that chapter in the book talks about Elijah, the high priest, and it said that even though he was going through tortures, that it was like he was being an old man that turned into a young man. Like he was feeling vibrant in the Ruach, that he was able to go through these things unto the Father, like literally, like, just encouraged and staying focused and like locked into Yah. Like, so, again, and that's the imagery of like the stuff that he was going through, being tortured physically. I'm like, again, we're not all going through that stuff right now. So it really paints this like we really got to get this locked in. If we are getting caught in both worlds and these trials of life that are not even on the level of being tortured, again, it's Hebrews chapter 2, Yahusha knows. He's been in our body. He knows what we go through. Like you know what I'm saying? Like the Father did that for a reason and for understanding also, like for that whole connectivity, for us to also understand, like we're not going through anything he doesn't know about. He knows every single detail, even the more details than we know about it, what we're going through. Because it could be tied to something in your past, like when you were a child. He knows all these details, right? So we cannot get caught in both worlds to where we're relying on our own wisdom of the world, the way they want us to deal with our problems and feel and things of that nature. We have to strive more and more and more and more to stay brave, stay wise, because at some point it does say that when the times are approaching, and even when we're getting those specific times, if we're blessed to be in those times, that we'll be quiet, we'll be silent, like because you're not gonna be able to really talk to anybody like that. People are not gonna really understand what's going on, but maybe y'all will put you in position to speak to someone and tell them the truth, and they may come to unto Yahuwah. Those are other things that we have to think about too. Why are we in those times? Not just to survive, but to do the works, right? So right now we have to look in the mirror, self-reflect, and ask Yah, whatever it is that you are asking me to work on, whatever are my shortcomings, show me. So that way I may work on those things and that I may continue to not just work on them, but please don't allow me to spend so much time thinking I have so much time to conquer this and conquer that. Like, bring more sense of urgency to my Ruach, not in a rushing way, right? Because again, it's not through our own power, but it's through Yah and His power, His sanctifying power to get us through these phases, of our mind and of our heart, like as He's pruning away. But I just continue to seek Him, and He's going to help us, and we'll be stronger from that. But we actually know what we're doing because some people are seeking and they keep doing it the same exact way and they'll never see results because they don't know more, that the scriptures are telling us. And again, that's why, Apocrypha, we're looking at these scriptures and we're connecting. Like it says it's the fountain of wisdom. It's the spring of life, a portion of life eternal. So praise Yah, we're able to connect these different things in these other books and with the regular canon scriptures and get this whole. But again, I even admitted to you guys I got to do better. And I put that out there because that's accountability for me. I have to do better. I want to do better. I desire to do better, and I will do better, right? According to Yah's power and His ordained strength that He allows me to do so. Just Yah willing, right? So we always ask Him for that. But that's what I desire, right? So we should all desire that, not because I desire it, right? It's because you got to look in the mirror. Every person got to look in the mirror and say, what are my shortcomings? What am I relying on too much that I notice that I'm not really getting to the level I know I could be on? Am I relying too much on my own personal way that I deal with these problems, that I deal with this interaction every time this specifically comes up? And if so, yeah, what do I need to do to change that? What wisdom can I gain from you to help me deal with it in a way better way that is more set apart unto you, not what it looks like to other people, because it's not going to look strong to everybody else. Somebody's going to look at it and be like, "Oh, that's how you go about that. You're not saying that to that person after they said this or whatever." But meekness is what He loves. That's His delight, faith and meekness. So It don't mean that we're weak at all. It's just, discerning, wisdom. So, like I just hope everything was encouraging today. Like just a lot of good connections. And again, it's always bringing us into a place where we need to work on something to continue to um, go higher, to go higher. Like read these scriptures, break them down, like Sister was saying. And, you know, even if it's a word, if it's like one scripture that you read and you focusing on that day because you just really want to dive it deep into it, that is absolutely okay. Take that time, allow it to really hit your heart, do what you got to do, you know, like it's so much that we can do. And I just hope again, whether you're in a place of wherever place you are in, some people are in a place where they feel shame, like they can't grow anymore, or they made so many mistakes. Like that's the enemy trying to keep you down. It's a lot of excuses. So encourage yourself or use this as encouragement to grow. You have the ability to grow. As long as you're breathing, like grow. Take those steps. Ask for forgiveness. Truly repent. There's fasting out there. Like we have to do certain things, but like turn that corner today while you hear his voice. Rest in him, like we talked about earlier. Give those burdens to Yahuwah, including the things that you fell short on, that you're dealing with, that you're falling to, and move forward. So, any other comments, questions, concerns?
I just want to say thank you so much for, coming on and being with all of us and taking that time out. It's needed. And if you have any more, just let me know and I'll hop on. I enjoy your teachings. And I'm just so appreciative. Thank you that we all got together today and the other brothers as well. Thank you.
Hallelujah, Yahuwah, and all praises to Yah, no matter what. No matter what. Because again, I just follow him, and I know I had that feeling like I really wanted to fellowship. It's easy to study on your own, and I think again I've been getting away from a lot of formal studies, um, because I just feel like things like this and looking into different things like this, is it's truly a blessing. We may not have a bunch of conversation, but when it's conversation, discussion, either way, it's always something. It's always a blessing. So that's what I really felt like I wanted to do, So I enjoy it again. This was like an in-house type of fellowship because I know who I'm fellowshipping with. So I already know, you know, like I don't have to worry about all the extras that sometimes come with certain, fellowship and all that stuff. So, and I specifically needed it too, you know. Dealing with a lot on my end, and this is like super encouragement. And I know anytime I get into a place where it seems like stuff is just going wild and and I'm struggling to, like I'm in the fight, in spiritual warfare. Like this is spiritual warfare for me too. This is me fighting in in the Ruach and Yahuwah, speaking, his word and, listening to his word from my brothers and sisters and reading like this, and it hits my heart and it helps me, it strengthens me so I can go out and go back into my flow, you know. So that's what I always rely on is when I know I can do this, I'm like, okay, this is getting me to push through this fight more, and really not be defeated by the enemy. So I appreciate you guys as well. For coming on, just to spend some time with your brother and fellowship here. What's up, man? What's up? I just got handed the baby, so So I'm gonna get off, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and pray out, or if anybody wants to pray, that's fine with me. Y'all let me know. Allow not, I'll go ahead. All right. Here, Abiyah. Thank you, Abiyah. Hallelujah, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, for your word, for your covering, for your understanding that you provided for us, this knowledge, and all helping us grow in wisdom. Abiyah, I ask that you add unto us fear, this reverence and trust in you. I ask that you add unto us wisdom and continue to allow us to understand how to not only wear this robe of righteousness, but keep it on in all things as we go through all these different afflictions, that you help us to truly be faithful in all of our afflictions, in all meekness, and that you will accept the different things that we're aiming to do in righteousness unto you as we continue to walk with the right heart. I ask that everybody's going through something. I ask that you cover us, help each and every one of us, send your shepherd, Yahushua HaMashiach, to be in the midst of our problems, in the midst of our home, in the midst of our interactions, in the midst of our thoughts, in the midst of our feelings, in the midst of our alone time, whatever it is, that just as Yahushua fought against the enemy in the wilderness and used the word, that you will allow Yahushua to speak through us, speak the word unto the enemy, that we may defeat the enemy. That's the only way we can do it. So I ask that you continue to keep us walking as soldiers um, in your army, Yahuwah Sabaoth, and forgive us for the things that we fell short on. Forgive us for the things that um, we may be transgressing in, and allow us to not turn to those things again. In the name of Yahushua Hamashiach. And for those who feel like they're stuck and they are in the same pattern over and over and over and over and over again, that you pull them out of that in the name of Yahushua Hamashiach, and that you allow them to see the path that you laid out for them, and the path of righteousness that you want them to walk in diligently, and use these things, everything that we talked about today, that we use it, but add on to it and not just keep it in a standard way and just listen to one person's voice and say this is what it is, but to add unto you to the things, seek your truth more and more, that we may be able to grow even stronger. So we give you all the praise, glory, and honor. Hallelujah. Name of Yahushua Hamashiach. Until be Yahushua prayer. So be it. Let it be so. Yamin and Yamin.
In agreement, so be it.
Yeah,
Toda,
man.
brother. Toda.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, y'all. Let me stop this recording.